face makers, welcome back to the factory. Well, there's a little thing that's been itching at me for years to do, and that's to discuss my past, how I got into the film industry, and the road that took me here. Some of you know this story and some of you don't. Some may be surprised to hear it, and some may want to stay to the very end to see how it ends. But the thing is, it never ends. It just keeps on going. So I'm going to try to start at the beginning. This will probably be in several chapters. This is my video log, and as some people say on YouTube, you make these videos for your grandchildren. So Kelly, Jillian, Riley, this is for you. So, some of you may not know the story that got me into the film business. In 1974, I graduated high school and was going to a vocational school to be a commercial artist. I had a partial scholarship and was ready to go to school and sit behind a drawing desk and get creative. But an odd thing happened. I was flipping the channels one day and I saw a local kids show I'd grown up watching. It was called the Ho Ho the Clown Show. He did a little lunch show, he showed cartoons and stuff, and he had a puppet, and so he did the live part of the broadcast. This was in Oklahoma City, where I grew up, and oddly enough, there were two clowns there from the circus, and they were talking about clown auditions. Well, I thought, okay, they put makeup on you, they put you in a car, and you jump out and get a pie in the face. Well, that really wasn't what it was. It was actually the auditions for Clown College. That was the circus school that was going on at the time in Venice, Florida. And I, kind of got my curiosity up, wrote down the information, and the next morning I showed up at the convention center expecting to only, maybe have a chance to be in the circus while it was there. Now, I was never really a circus fan. I'd never really been to the circus much, except to a little shrine circus when I was a kid. So I didn't really know much. As I call it, I had never peeked underneath the circus tent before. Well, I did the audition. I could juggle a little bit, having learned how to juggle in commercial art class, bars of soap. I had a really fun teacher who kind of was fun at sharing things outside of the art media that we were working with. But we did some theater exercises. They put some makeup on me because there was a film crew filming. And it was kind of fun. I didn't think much about it. And I was shown backstage and into the dressing room with the clown's dress. They call it Clown Alley. And the guy gave me some baby oil and some Kleenex and said, I'm going to the free lunch. Take your makeup off and I'll see you later. So I took the makeup off. And as I was cleaning the makeup off, other people started coming into the dressing room to get ready for the afternoon performance. So an older gentleman sat in a trunk across from me, and his name was Mark Anthony. Now, Mark had a big old dog with him, a Weimaraner. If you don't know what a Weimaraner is, it's those big kind of gray dogs with a short tail and kind of like a big old hound dog kind of character. And so Mark started talking to his dog and introducing me to his dog and pulled his stuff out, started putting on his makeup. And we struck up a conversation, and from there on, it ended up being a lifelong friendship. Being in that environment for that shorter period of time, as the performers would come in and get ready and put their makeup on, I started moving from chair to chair, watching everyone put their makeup on, and the next thing you know, I felt these hooks kind of fastening into me like this. Needless to say, I stayed in Clown Alley, sneaking in the back door for the rest of the week, and saw what it was like to live the life of a circus clown. Well, I got accepted at the Clown College. I could juggle a little bit, I was pretty outgoing, and I could walk on stilts. I had a cousin who had a stilt company called Durastilt, and they were used by drywallers and electricians to work on construction sites. So I kind of grew up as a kid, playing on these stilts. So I called my cousin up, went over, picked up a pair of his stilts and brought them back to the circus, and within an hour I had everyone in clown dressing room walking on stilts. So the dean of the clown college, his name was Bill Ballantyne, wrote down my name, Steve Laporte walks on stilts. Well, that was kind of a plus. And one of the guys pulled me aside and said, hey, if you really want to do this clown college thing, write them a lot of letters. Well, I took it literally and designed the little logo, Clown College, with a little circus tent, and just made a bunch of envelopes up ahead of time, and every other day I would send them a letter. Oh, I went to an acrobatics class, or I've been practicing my juggling, just wanted to hear from you, got to go to college soon, just please let me know. Well, these continued for week after week after week, and I finally got a letter back from them saying, please don't send any more letters, enough is enough. So I pulled out a big sheet of wrapping paper, white wrapping paper, and wrote just one sentence. Steve Laporte is very anxious to hear from you about the clown college because I'm starting regular college in about 2 weeks. And I sent it special delivery in a box with a ribbon tied on it. Well, needless to say, about a week later I got a phone call that said I'd been accepted to the clown college. And the next thing you know, I'm on a bus to Venice, Florida. The trip was interesting enough. Being 18, leaving home and going on a bus across country from Oklahoma City to Florida on what I thought would be the fast route ended up taking 3 days, and I met every kind of person you could imagine along the way and pretty much pondered what I was going to do with my life. I pretty much lived in a box. I hadn't been too far out of Oklahoma much growing up. We moved to Ohio for a year when I was a little kid, came back, but really stayed in Oklahoma. I didn't know what a bagel was, really. Once I got to Florida, it was a huge melting pot of people from all over the country and really all over the world. And I was ingrained in this society, in this melting pot of different people and personalities, and my mind was open to a new world that was out there. So I embraced the clown college experience full throttle, like I do with anything, and excelled at everything I did. And one day a couple of guys came in and started talking about high stilts. Well, I didn't know what high stilts were. I'd walked on these little painter stilts that were about 2 feet tall. And they pulled out a pair of stilts that were 10 feet tall. So day after day, I climbed that ladder, got on some stilts. Mine were only about 6 feet tall at the time. And the next thing you know, I was a master of stilt walking. I could walk, pause, spin around on one foot. Let's say I impressed them on what I could do. At the graduation, I walked 8 foot tall stilts and was given a contract with the greatest show on earth as a first year, or as we say, a first of May clown. I toured for 4 years on the show, worked my way up to much taller stilts. After my second season on the show, I was on the red show. There's a red show and a blue show. I was offered a contract to become the boss clown of the blue unit. Now, boss clown is kind of like if you think of film terms, first AD of the clown department. I worked with management, I worked with promoters, and at the time I was the youngest at 20 to ever be assigned a position and given the, I guess you could say, promotion to boss clown. Well, I didn't know that experience was going to give me the experience I needed to enter the film business, but it did. And traveling around the country, working with people from all over the globe and meeting people from every city across the nation really gave me a great foundation to carry on for the rest of my life. My first week of clown college was pretty much a whirlwind. A lot of things happened. We were exposed to demonstrations on clown routines and how to put makeup on. I'd never really dabbled much in makeup other than times I had really witnessed the clowns in the dressing room putting on their own makeup. A couple of them put makeup on me during that time there so I could kind of go home and show my friends. I went to a party once as a tramp clown. The cool part about learning the makeup is we got to actually see seasoned circus clowns putting the makeup on in front of us. After about a week, one of those instructors left early, and I inquired, where did our instructor go? And someone told me he got a job as a makeup artist in Hollywood. And the light went on. At that point, in the corner of my mind, I kept that little memory of makeup artist. And from then on, I collected books, read magazines, everything I could do to take me to the next step. The circus was my stepping stone to my final career. But I'd like to share a few things with you that I had along the way and what happened back in the 70s, traveling America. The American circus as we know it is pretty much defunct now. It's been replaced by more flashy versions of circus like Cirque du Soleil, which are great shows. Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey as we know it, with their elephants and their tigers and their horses and their trained animal acts, is pretty much defunct. I rode elephants, I walked on stilts, I crossed the country meeting everyone that I possibly could see who came in those doors. And as I stepped through that curtain into that magic world of the circus, I knew what it felt like to be the star of a show. There's nothing like getting a round of applause by 25,000 people in a full house at Madison Square Garden because something you did was funny and everyone laughed. Putting that aside, I'm going to share a few things with you. As a makeup artist, I basically started with clown makeup. We were given 3 colors to use: white, black, and red. They taught us a white-faced clown. They taught us how to do a character called the Auguste, which is the flesh around most of the face and white around each eye and the mouth. And we learned that the makeup the clowns wore was made to project to the top row of the arena or the circus tent in the old days. So my basic training in clown makeup started off with those 3 colors. Eventually they throw in a little flesh, maybe a little blue, maybe a little yellow. My makeup consisted of 4 colors: a flesh tone, a white, a red, a black, yellow in the temples, and a blue nose. This is the nose that I wore in the show. Whoop, fell right off there. This is the original cast from Clown College that I had. Now this is 50 years ago, or 50 plus years ago. This is the nose that I wore. It became part of my character. It was a blue nose on the tip. I'd seen other clowns with different kinds of nose. I saw a clown who had a nose with multiple colors with a rhinestone in the end. He looked like a target. I saw one guy with a big blue nose, and I adapted mine based on what I saw. I built a hybrid character from the exposure of all the different things that I had witnessed. So this was my character nose, kind of like a guy who got punched in the nose and it was all bruised. And this is a slipped rubber nose, and believe it or not, here's the actual mold that I still have. That this is the cast that it came from. I kept the mold. This is like a dental stone mold, and just fill it with rubber, pull your noses out, and paint them up. So I chose the blue nose. For those of you who want to see a little trip down memory lane, who knew me and know me, and that's me. Also, look in the corner here and you'll see me in full makeup. But throughout my clown character, I adapted different types of noses for different characters that I did. This is one kind of like a big Geppetto mustache, big red nose character. Actually, in the circus, I kept my blue design. And this is actually one that I made way back my last year on the show. It's got a little piece, a little foam rubber piece that I carved and put together. It's got a little monofilament string with some elastic around it. And that's part of my character, what I did. This is a really interesting thing here. These are the actual brushes that I used on the show. It says makeup brushes 1975 to 1978, red and blue unit, RBB&B. I picked these up at a paint store in Fresno, California. These two little brushes are what I use to put my makeup on. Between my fingers and these two little brushes, that's where this makeup came from. The other way we used to put our makeup on, we used a makeup called Stein's makeup. This is a company out of New York, Stein's. This is my very first can of Clown White. This is the funny part about it. Hard as a rock. It's not even usable anymore, but I kept it kind of for prosperity. We also use different types of stick makeup. This is called grease paint, Stein's grease paint. This is the flesh tone. It was a grease stick. You could just stripe it on your face and then blend it out. This was the red one. Red. So this is called 18 Red. This is what all the clowns used to use. And Stein's has been around since vaudeville. They've been around a long time. So this is the actual makeup that most of the clowns in the greatest show on earth used. Stein's makeup. We were taught how to make our own Clown White with zinc oxide and olive oil and stuff like that if you needed it in emergency. Here's another type of makeup. It's a soft squeeze out makeup. It's a soft makeup for doing the black if you want. So a lot of the clowns use different types of makeups. Some even had these little, Stein's came out with a little kit once. It has all the colors. I found this somewhere and thought it was a really cool thing. It had never been used, but that was Stein's. And also we use, some of the clowns would use a putty on their nose. It's called a nose putty. And this is kind of what it looked like. It was like a hard waxy putty. Then you warm it up and it's very sticky, and you would actually stick it on your nose and shape it, and usually a little spirit gum on the nose, like this good old-fashioned spirit gum. If you put that on your nose and stick your nose on there, you could reuse this little ball of putty on your nose. That's where the rubber nose thing came in. A couple of our instructors came, and this helped turn that light a little brighter. They said, yeah, we're going to take a mold of your nose and you're going to sculpt your own nose and make your own character. And this is how they did Planet of the Apes. They took a mold of people's faces and they made all these ape things on it. So yeah, look over here and you'll see me sculpting a Planet of the Apes piece in my clown room on the train. I don't know if it's a clown room, it's really my room. The clown room was in the arena. But anyway, here's the, you saw my nose mold. But this is another cool thing that we used to use. I can go over a thing about this because I still use these in the lab. This is called a powder sock. It's basically a nylon sock. You stretch over a can of baby powder, flip it over and squeeze the baby powder in it, and then tie a knot. And what this does is, if you look really close, it doesn't take much for the powder to fall out or to fill the room. Anyway, this is how we set our makeup. We would put our makeup on. It's pretty greasy at times, and sometimes you would powder it in stages. And you basically pop the powder on your face, and I would use a lamb's wool powder puff. This is the same powder puff that I've used for years. It's still there, and I would use it to really work the makeup in, pat it out. Your makeup is constantly being touched up in a show. If you get squirted with water, or I played trumpet, so my lip was always coming off. So I always had a black stain on my finger from touching up my makeup in between acts. And here's another little thing to share with you. This is my makeup mirror that I used. And I dropped it one time, and still taped up from the tape when I dropped it. But I would put my makeup on with this mirror, and you learned really quickly how to put your makeup on in a dark room by catching the light that may be over your shoulder and reflecting it onto your face. So this is how I did my makeup every day, and my makeup usually took me about 30 minutes to do. It started and took me an hour and slowly got it down to 30 minutes, and Sometimes if I was in a rush and got in late, I could put my makeup on in 10 minutes, minus a few of the details, which I would finish up later on. The wig that I wore was made out of yak hair, and it came from a company called Sawdust Brothers in New York City. And it actually was a very long wig, and one of the showgirls helped me trim it. It's got a cloth front on it, and it's colored with the actual pink flesh grease paint that we use on our face, so it pretty much matches. This wig has been, used to re-dye my wig every few months, and I'd use like a green RIT dye, and most of the green color would come out and leave this bright greenish yellow. The little hat which is pinned onto it, I made the hat. It's out of actual felt. I made a form and stretched it and pinned it and sewed it and put a wire in it. Made a little hat band out of it, out of rhinestones. And I had a black hat with rhinestones on it as well. And the cool thing about it is you could unpin it, take it off, and you could wear baseball caps or anything else you wanted to wear. I also did a character which I used to use the mustache for, a pizza vendor. And the name of the routine was called La Porterini's Pizza. So I played like an old Italian pizza vendor trying to outwit an Artful Dodger kid trying to con me out of a bite of pizza. You wore gloves a lot of the time. This is a pair of the gloves that I used to wear. You got to be able to put your makeup on and touch your makeup up. So I cut the fingertips out of my gloves so I could touch my makeup in between numbers. I didn't wear gloves all the time, usually for publicity stuff, or if I'm taking pictures or meeting a lot of children or the press. That was just kind of a formal thing you do. We made our own costumes. Our shoes were made by a company called Griffin Shoe Company out of Rochester, New York. I have 3 pairs of clown shoes still up in my circus trunk in the attic. And that's kind of how my life started out on the road at 18. And what can I say? It sure has been a great ride. The way we used to keep our makeup for storage is we used to use these little film cans. And each film can has a different color on it. You see, I've got black, yellow. This is flesh. Let's see. There we go. And if you needed to warm up your makeup, if it was too hard and you were filming in a cold, see, I'm in film mode here. If you were working in a city where it was cold and your dressing room was pretty cold, you could always take a match and run a match under there, or put a candle out and warm up these little metal containers to get at your makeup. There's the red one. So this is basically, you would hold your container, use your finger, put it on, close it up, and you can keep everything in a little bag and run with it whenever you had to put your makeup on the train if you're doing a publicity thing. Eventually, when I moved to Hollywood, I would do commercials and stuff while I was trying to get into the film business, and I made a little stacker unit that had all my different colors on it, so it's all in one place. But old film cans, old 35mm film cans. And of course, good old-fashioned spirit gum. Excuse me, that powder. But I thought that would be a great way to start off the story of my life in the circus before I came into Hollywood and worked my way up the ladder there. But there's going to be more on this later. I have an old circus trunk up in the attic that hasn't been opened in probably 20 years. When I first came to Hollywood, I did everything I could to pay the rent. So I actually got commercial jobs as a clown and high stilt walker, and that kept me going until I eventually got into the makeup union and took off from there. But I do want to share all this stuff, and if you want to hear more of the circus stories that come up, I'll pull out some of my old costumes and go into some deeper dives on my life in the circus and the rise from sawdust to cinema.